Assalamu alaikum. This will be the life of Ahmed Bayat, my father, your guys' grandfather, and perhaps this message will go down to your great grandchildren. Even. Ahmed Bayat was the first son from Abdul Haq Bayat, born in a town called Lothe, but he was born actually in Khod Mariko, and his father was from Lothe. That is near Ermelo in the eastern Transvaal. They used to call it back in South Africa in the old days, which is now Mpumalanga. His father is buried in Ermelo graveyard, and so is his grandmother. And by the mercy and rahmah of Allah, I was able to go there and see the Qabristan and make dua for them in my youth with my father. However, I must have visited that graveyard just about 3 or 4 times in my life. The Bayat family that is in Ermelo, perhaps aware of where the graves are and so on. So if ever any of my kids, grandchildren and so on go there, please don't forget Ermelo is where you make dua for them. Your great, that will be my great-grandfather. That means Ahmed Bayat is my father. His father was Abdul Haq Bayat, and his father was Muhammad Bayat, and his father was Ibrahim Bayat. They all buried in Ermelo. That is from my father's side. And then from my father's mother's side, she was a Vadwala, Amina Vadwala. There is a website called My Heritage, and there's a lady by the surname of Azvat who's been documenting everything on the My Heritage site from Kolvat right down. In fact, she's quite active on the Kolvad, Kolvad Facebook page. So from my father's side, my father's mother, she was a Vadwala, and the Vadwalas were based in a small town called Khod Mariko. So her mother is actually a Crawley. She was an Irish. And the Crawley, she passed away and she's buried in New Clay Cemetery that's near Bosmont in Johannesburg. But my grandmother's father is buried in Khod Mariko as well. So Khod Mariko's got a very small graveyard, and her grandmother is also buried in Khod Mariko from the Vadwala side. So we have the whole Vadwala family literally based in Khod Mariko. And this we talk of in the early 1900s and the late 1800s. My granny's mother was married to a Vadwala, so she was a Crawley, and her husband was the Vadwala. Okay, now there is a video that I'll post on my Facebook page, but it's also going to be on my YouTube, and it will be my father speaking about the Vadwalas, how many brothers and so on like that. So Abdul Haq Bayat YouTube, and you'll find hundreds of videos of all my kids and all that. And the reason I'm documenting all this is because we have broken into an age of videos and audios and all of that, and I felt that keeping some sort of memories alive. I mean, I do not know who my grandfather is, my great-grandfather and so on. By making these videos, perchance my great-grandchildren will listen to it, and inshallah they will make dua for us. Lots of dua for us. And Allah will accept the duas, because we need those duas. There isn't a day that goes by where I don't make dua for my grandparents and their forefathers and so on, all who embrace Islam, that Allah has mercy on them and forgive them. So inshallah, with the intention that you guys will remember us, my fathers, my mothers, my grandmothers and so on. Bismillah. I was thinking of making a long video, but then I said I'll snip it into pieces, because then it's easier to catch on for my kids and grandkids and so on. This is the introduction. So Groot Marico lies in the northwest of uh, South Africa. It's near a place called Zeerust. It's a very small town. In fact, the legend is the first Qari in South Africa who made 30 Hufaz was in this town of Groot Marico. I remember the old man Mangera telling me about this, and I just can't remember his name, but that is now, we're talking in the early 1900s. And from there, that was pre-Mia's Farm. Mia's Farm came much later. And the Bam family, who were also original from there, Marico, the Majotis, the Mangeras, the Kessams, they came in later. And there was Beras even there, and so on. That's what I basically, and Rajans. And the Bayats were also naturally integrated within there. So Groot Marico is a town with a very long old history. The graveyard got graves from the 1930s and before that even, that are not listed and numbered. So that gives you an idea. So we divided between two. Originally the Bayats come from Azerbaijan. My father told me that they migrated from the Persian section of from Persia to Delhi and to Gujarat during the war, because they were the first people to defend the Islamic Abbasid Empire against the Mongols, and they defeated the Mongol army, and then thereafter the Mongols came with a bigger army, of which the Bayats dispersed towards the Delhi Sultanate in India, and there they were able to defend the Delhi Sultanate. The Mongols were not able to penetrate in there, and that's how you found lots and lots of people who migrated from Persia into Delhi, Muslims, and that included the Azerbaijanis, because the Mongol catastrophe literally wiped out everything that was existing in an Islamic empire, and the catastrophe was of such a nature that if you defeated them once, you'd never defeat them the second time. You needed to migrate. So Hijrah became the Bay family reason for moving was because of war. So if you go to Azerbaijan and Turkey, you'll still find the Bey family or the Bayat family. In fact, there was a movie came out called Ertugrul, in which they referred to the Beys as a nation that created the Turco-Mongol Empire. So Delhi Sultanate, and from India, about 100, 200 years later, they migrated to more towards the Mozambique coastline, and a reunion and the small Mauritius Islands, and then from there they came into the corridor, Mozambique Maputo corridor, into South Africa, and they settled in a town called Ermelo and Heidelberg. So all the Bayats were basically based in Heidelberg, and it branched off from there. There were 4 brothers. One went to Pietermaritzburg, one went to Polokwane, one went to Zeerust, and the other one remained in Heidelberg. I think they called him 17 Bayat or something of that sort was his nickname. But that was a brother, one of the brothers of Ibrahim Bayat. And then there was S.E. Bayat or something who went to Zeerust. And the Pietermaritzburg Bayats are all family. And the strange and beauty part is you'll find that the Bay family, collectively, wherever they go, they form a ulama fraternity. They have knowledge, a lot of knowledge of Islam, and you'll find Maulanas and Alims and Shuyukh coming out from them. There's one strand of arrogance in them that makes them not, let's say not arrogance, but stubbornness, which makes them to be not blind followers. A Bayat at a certain age in his life starts to realize that this is not right, that is not right, and even though he was following it traditionally, and he changes. And I saw this with lots of Bayats that I met who were old, and they give me basic life histories of how they went against religious beliefs that were inherited from their forefathers. And subhanallah, that's a good quality. They always stand on haq, and they try their best to be on the truth. My father was like that. He started off as a Barelvi. He used to do all this Kabar Pujari, grave worshipping at one stage to a degree. Then he broke off from that, and he was a Deobandi, where he rejected all that. And then he became a Salaf, a person who follows the Salaf as-Salih, which is more Medina school. And he remained steadfast on that till the day he passed away. However, the youth amongst us are still on their journey to discover. Well, that giving you a basic insight on how we migrated and how we got into the areas and so on. The Bayat family constitutes huge amounts of sub-families, let's put it that way. You'll find them in Lenasia, they even in England, Canada, all over the world now, because from South Africa they migrated out again. But they generally one family. The Colvert Bayats all are one family. There's land in Colvert who Uncle Solly Bayat, whose grandfather was 17 Bayat, went and see the land there, but it was usurped by some other people and so on. And then he made mashwara once or twice, and he said that just leave it, whoever benefits from it, Allah give them whatever. But it was literally impossible to get that land back. It was sold already on the name of other people, and they left for Canada and all that. However, these were historical little incidents that took place in his life. Solly Bayat is still alive. I'm going to make a request that he gives us a historical background on a 15-minute video of his life and the Bayat tree from his side. So this will come onto my YouTube site as well, inshallah. The Bayats are integrated now like us. We are part Kaji. The Kaji family, my mother was Kaji. My father was Bayat. So my father's side is Vadwala and Bayat. My mother's side is Kaji and Saleh. Now that again is a long, lengthy discussion to give you an insight into how the Salehs came into South Africa from Colvert as well. And the contribution to a huge city called Roshni. It's the integrated, connected family. Old man Saleh had 33 children, of which a huge proportion of them were all seated in Roshni, and that's a discussion by itself. I'll cover that inshallah. So on the Bayat side, my father's whole life story is where I will begin, because I don't know much about his father. I just know that he passed away when my father was around 8 or 9 years old, and he had sisters, and they were then moved to different families and so on. And then he had a very difficult life. He used to always complain of the hardships of his life as an orphan, and how he was abused. It was abuse after abuse after abuse. And the few people that gave him love, he always reminded us of them. And he made a lot of dua for them. And I think I should, it'll be very emotional, because now that my father's gone for the last 6 months, he passed away in September 2023. Allahumma arhamhum wa sakinhum fil jannah. My mother passed away 13 years ago. Allahumma arhamha wa sakinha fil jannah. And it was very difficult for parents to keep things together because of the hardship and the upbringing and the fractured backgrounds and the fractured lifestyles that they had, which then rallies over to the kids without them even realizing it. And then the kids also live these fractured lifestyles, or these fractured, let's put it, genetically ingrained defense mechanisms that explode. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. Alhamdulillah, my 15 minutes almost up. I'll be continuing with number 2. So with that, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.